Guys, there's a new thing that pisses me off, and it's called financial illiteracy. This is definitely a trend that I've seen more prevalent among Gen X, but I've seen a lot of millennials with financial literacy too. And I don't expect people to have some sort of advanced level knowledge on the economy or business finance or even personal finance, but I mean, some of these people, not even some of them, most of them, do not know how car loans work. And it's just frustrating because we live in an age where people have access to the internet. People have pocket computers on their person 24/7. At a click of a few buttons and just waiting a few seconds, you can research almost anything you want for entirely free. All you have to do is put in a little bit of time. If you think about it, there's not really any reason to be financially literate because you can just Google this stuff. You can watch a couple YouTube videos. You know, it's easy. Why is this such a problem? I'm going to tell you guys a quick story really quick, which is kind of why I'm making this video. But basically, one of my coworkers does not have a car and cites the bad car market. Now, the car market is a little heinous right now, but I started to pry into it a little bit because I was curious. We make salary, right? We get a consistent paycheck, and the pay is not terrible. It could be way better. But for context, I'm in the military. My buddy, who I'm speaking about, is also in the military. He's not really a buddy, by the way, but anyways, he's also in the military. He lives in the barracks, which means he does not pay for rent. He does not pay for his food. He does not pay for anything. He doesn't have car insurance. I think the only thing he might pay for is an internet bill and a phone bill. That's it. And, he makes, I think, $900 a paycheck, right? And he pockets most of that. I can't imagine his phone bill and his internet bill costs him more than $150 a month, It turns out this guy has zero savings, and when he went to go get a car, and he wanted to get a loan for that car, they gave him like a 15 or 16 APR loan on it, and I was like, well, that's fucking insane. My car loan is a 4% interest rate. That's it, it's a 4%. My credit score is also 800. So I started asking this guy, I was like, well, what's your credit score? He goes, oh, let me check. He pulls up his banking app, and it has a little credit reader on there. He pulls it up. It's a 600. And I'm like, well, no fucking shit. You're getting goddamn 15, 16% interest rates on your loans. You have piss poor credit, buddy. And I want to help him out because, like I mentioned earlier, financial literacy is a big problem nowadays. And I'm trying to figure out, well, why is your credit score so low? It turns out he's got like 3 open credit cards and he's almost at his limit on 2 of them. He has to pay them all off. And I'm sitting here like, well, buddy, this is why your fucking credit score is so piss poor. It's just going to get lower from here. Because you don't make smart financial decisions, you don't have any savings to your name, and you're about to max out all 3 of your credit cards. It also doesn't help. He was trying to get a brand new car. I forget what it was. It was some Toyota or some Nissan or something like that. But it was a brand new 2022 car that he was trying to get. And I was like, there's zero chance in hell you're getting that car. You have to get a used car. And even then, if you're going to get a loan for that car, you're going to have a tough time getting anything below 10% on that. But I'm sitting here, the entire time I'm talking to this dude, I'm thinking in the back of my head, why is this such a shock? Why are people not aware of this? This is just one dude, by the way. I work with about 20, maybe 30 people. And in the office space that I work in, I always hear people talk about how they have no money, how they're always broke. And every single one of these people live in the barracks, right? Like I mentioned earlier, people in the barracks don't pay rent. They don't pay for their food. They pocket most of their money. These people are just being dumb, and they go out and buy stupid shit. They don't have any savings. But you know what? I was going to leave it at that. I kind of just forgot about it for a little bit. Later on in the week, I went on TikTok, and I kept seeing these videos in my For You page about, it's this guy who goes around, like, supermarkets, and, he goes around and says, oh, this is what brands are owned by Blackrock or Vanguard. And I'm sitting here, and this guy is saying, like, listing off all these brands, and it's really informational, but it's clearly being painted in such a way to make it look bad because these businesses are owned by Vanguard and BlackRock as if it actually fucking matters who owns them. And there's tons of people in the comments saying, oh my god, this is horrible, we live in a fucking monopoly, these people are destroying the country, blah blah blah. And I'm sitting here like, you people have zero idea what these corporations actually do. I mean, for fuck's sakes, Vanguard is a management firm. That's all they are. It's not like they actually run these businesses. They are a management firm. They just happen to be involved in a lot of these businesses. And it's crazy because I asked some of these people in these comment sections, how does this affect you? How does Vanguard owning a lot of these businesses or BlackRock owning a lot of these businesses affect you? And they never give me an answer. They never give me an answer because they don't understand that. They've just been conditioned to believe that because Vanguard owns something, that means it's bad. And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking two things. One, that's fucking stupid. And two, what are your alternatives? Because if they are as bad as you say and that they own everything in the goddamn country, what are your alternatives? You're going to have to bite the bullet eventually. But these people have been conditioned to believe that these management firms are some sort of big, evil, snake, serpent, gobbling demon that's going to come down and just fucking blow up their house. They're going to go blow up a hospital or something. It's simply not the case at all. The only somewhat real answer that I've gotten from people is they say, well, because they own the majority of the assets in a company, they have the voting power. But then I beg you to answer me, how does that affect you? Has any decision by Vanguard or BlackRock directly affected you as the individual consumer? Outside of a few isolated incidences where they make a stupid fucking decision, you probably can't name me one single fucking thing. Well, where is this all coming from and why is it being propagated? Well, I might have some answers for that. I've seen a phrase or a term thrown around to describe these people who think that companies like Vanguard and BlackRock are the coming of the Antichrist. I didn't make this term up. I'm just using it because I've seen it a few times. But I've seen Fincel thrown around, which is, financial incel, basically, right? Think of it like that. And basically a Fincel is someone who masquerades as some sort of advanced financial entrepreneur expert who just knows what they're talking about and think that companies like BlackRock and Vanguard are evil goblins in the night that are going to come and pillage your house while you're sleeping. Okay, first of all, let's clear something up really quick. Vanguard and BlackRock, technically speaking, don't own anything. The shareholders within these companies are the ones who maintain the power, if you want to even call it that, over the companies that they quote-unquote own. But it's not Vanguard and BlackRock as a company that owns the subordinate companies. That's not how that fucking works. But of course, your average Fincel doesn't know that. They just see Vanguard or BlackRock and they lose their fucking minds at the thought of it. And just a really quick note, Vanguard and BlackRock are not as much as a company as they more are a fund, okay? They are two things, but most of the time when we speak about Vanguard and BlackRock as financial investors, we're talking about the funds, okay? The companies themselves do not own the subordinate companies. It's the shareholders within these funds that hold the quote-unquote power, if you want to even call it that, okay? By the way, don't take this video as me talking down on you or insulting you if you're not financially inclined. This video is not meant to do that to you. This video is directed towards the Fincels who act like they know what they're talking about when they really don't, and they just masquerade as some sort of fucking pro-expert 20-year entrepreneur who's been in the business for ages. Okay, now we answered the question, where is this coming from? But now we have to answer the question, why is it a thing? Why do we have people propagating this nonsense? Well, we know it's not true. We know it's basically fear-mongering, financial fear-mongering, if you want me to be extreme about what this is. But we know it's not true. We know it's nonsense. Why is it being propagated anyways? Well, it appears to stem from a lot of socialist platforms. For example, you can see here on r/socialism, someone posts, do Vanguard and BlackRock actually control everything, or is it just a bullshit right-wing conspiracy? And the top reply here from a user says, BlackRock, Vanguard, Blackstone, and State Street do actually control nearly everything, which is just not true. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't want to sound extreme, but this is basically financial fear-mongering. These companies do not control everything. They don't even own anything. Like I mentioned earlier, it's the shareholders who own stuff. It's not these companies. These people don't know what they're talking about. They just propagate this stuff online. And people believe it because nowadays people are too fucking lazy to pick up the phone and read an article, to watch a video, even interact with people who might be knowledgeable on the subject. No, they just go to their local community space and they ask these questions. They take the answers at face value and then go on with their day, and then they probably share that with their friends and family. It's bullshit, guys. It took me 3 fucking seconds to find an article that debunks this claim. It takes 3 seconds, and these people don't do that. They spend more time typing out these questions on fucking Reddit and TikTok, asking these people who also have zero clue what they're talking about because they're regurgitating the same information that they got told in these same spaces to the people who ask these questions, than they would just Googling the information and looking at the first article that comes up. Fuck. Dare I say that they might look at a second article that comes up in their search query? Apparently not. Apparently, despite the advent of technology, despite the invention of the internet, despite all of these fantastic tools and resources we have, people just do the stupid way, and they just get this bullshit information regurgitated. Well, Frost, why are you so mad about this? Why are you defending the billion-dollar share fund that controls everything? I could give a fuck about Vanguard and Blackrock. My point with this is the amount of financial illiteracy stems from stupidity like this. Well, Frost, you only gave one example. You're predicating your whole video off of one example from a fucking Reddit. Okay, cool. Here's some more. This one's my favorite one. It has almost 1,000 upvotes on r/anti-work. Of course it's on anti-work, by the way. Of course the fin cells are on anti-work. Why does that make so much sense? Anyways, the title says, I wish more people would talk about the fact that two companies, Blackrock and Vanguard, essentially own the world. Yet, for some reason, this seems to be a little concern. Do you want to know why it's a little concern? Because it has zero fucking impact on you. It has zero impact on the average American consumer. It does have impact on the average American investor, which none of you are, because if you were investors, you would know what Vanguard and Blackrock are. But you don't even have to be an investor to know what Blackrock and Vanguard are. You can just Google this shit. But no, you typed out a whole goddamn thesis on Reddit talking about this shit, getting 1,000 people to agree with you, 150 comments discussing this quote-unquote issue, which, by the way, there is no fucking issue here at all, and I beg the question, how does this affect you? How does this affect you in any way, shape, or form? It doesn't. It does not. Cite me 3 fucking examples how this affects you. No one can. And if you have to go digging on the internet looking for something bad that has come from Blackrock and Vanguard quote-unquote owning everything, then it hasn't actually impacted you. That's like if a cop pulled you over and then walked up to your car and said, hold on, sir, I don't know what law you broke, let me go check. But let's break away from Reddit really quick. Let's go somewhere else on social media. Let's go to TikTok, where I also see this mentality, and look at these videos. I mean, we can't go through them here right now because we'd be here for fucking ages because there's so many of these things. You're more than welcome to go look at these TikToks on your own time. You can see the titles and the usernames right there on your screen. But these guys are just basically fear-mongering. They are basically fear-mongering. My favorite videos, by the way, are these two right here. These videos are full of fucking horseshit. It's actually crazy. And of course, there's hundreds upon thousands of likes. There's hundreds of comments, shares, and all that stuff. I mean, people are spreading this rhetoric all across the internet. And for what? Why are they doing this? Well, because they either believe this nonsense or they are actively engaging in the fear-mongering. But my whole point with this section of the video, guys, I promise you, Blackrock and Vanguard are not about to come in your house in the middle of the night and kidnap you to make you a slave of capitalism or whatever these people want you to believe. It's not going to happen. But I want to loop back to that personal finance thing. The whole reason why I went on a tangent about Blackrock and Vanguard is because if people are dumb enough to buy into this whole concept that Vanguard and Blackrock own everything, despite it not being true and easily verifiable using Google, which we all fucking have, if you're watching this video, there's a 99.9% chance you have access to Google right now. But if you're not literate enough to do that stuff, then is it really unreasonable to say that they're not financially literate enough to go out and do research on how fucking car loans work, how home loans work, how managing your credit score works? Well, of course they're not, which is why we see such a big problem with young people, especially young people nowadays, not being able to preserve their money. In case you guys couldn't tell from the past, I don't even know how long this video is, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? In case you couldn't tell from the past little bit now, I'm pretty serious about money. Money makes the world turn, right? I think we all can agree on that, no matter what you say about anything I just said in the video, no matter how you feel about what I said. I think we can all agree that money makes the world turn, right? Money is a very, very important part. I take money very seriously. Money is what's going to get us places. Money is what's going to make us live comfortably, live happily, be able to have families, all that stuff. And I want people to succeed with me. I don't want people left behind, which is why I try so hard to inform people about the seriousness about managing their finances, especially when you're young, right? Especially when you just started out, you just got your first job, or whatever it is, right? I want people to succeed with me. I don't want people left behind. But it has to start with some personal accountability. You have to do your own research. You have to understand what you're doing. But people don't do their own research, and that's the problem. We observe this behavior in this whole Blackrock and Vanguard fiasco. People don't do their own research. They just go on Reddit, or they go on Twitter, or they go on fucking TikTok, and they scroll on a video, and they say, oh my god, this person's talking about how Vanguard and Blackrock own the whole fucking world. And you know what? I believe them because they looked at the camera and pointed at it a few times, and they threw up some graphs that they actually have zero understanding of, and told me that that's a bad thing. So I'm going to regurgitate information to all my friends, and then it spreads like wildfire. If I had a nickel for every time that I fact-checked a video on TikTok about anything, science, politics, money-related, if I had a nickel for every time I fact-checked any video on TikTok, and that video came out to be false, I would be the richest man in the whole fucking world right now. I mean that with every fucking fiber in my being. Now, of course, there is some good content on Twitter, on Reddit, on TikTok, other social media platforms too. Those are just the big three that I use personally. But there are some good content creators on these apps, on these social media platforms that do make good stuff. But most of it is bullshit, guys, at least in my experience. And the way you can verify for yourself is to just do your own research. When it comes to finance specifically, it does look intimidating at first. No one likes talking about money. No one likes talking about it because it can be difficult. Stuff like taxes, stuff like making a budget, that stuff can be a little overwhelming, and it can be a little nerve-wracking to think about, right? And I understand that some of you may be in a very difficult financial spot right now with employment opportunities or education or crippling debt. Some of you may be declaring bankruptcy. Maybe you're a single parent. I don't know what your circumstance is, and it's very unfortunate you're in those. But there are certain steps we can take to make sure that doesn't happen in the future, and we can also research why it happened to begin with. And part of that, we have to look ourselves in the mirror, and that is by far the worst part about finance. It is the worst part about figuring out what went wrong, because we have to be honest with ourselves. And let's be honest with ourselves for a second, guys. We've all made stupid financial decisions. I've made plenty of them. I've made plenty of impulse buys. I've made plenty of very expensive purchases before that I did not need. We have to look at ourselves honestly and say, was that a stupid decision? And a lot of people nowadays do not take personal accountability for themselves. There's always an excuse for something. No one ever wants to say, you know what, that was my fault, stupid decision on my end, I won't do it again. No, instead people want to shift the blame, or they want to make themselves be the victim. My whole point with this video, guys, I want to point out the misconceptions around the Blackrock and Vanguard thing, but also because I want people to do their own research on this stuff. It's not difficult, it's not hard. It may be intimidating at first, especially if you're in a difficult financial spot, but it is not difficult. It is a little time consuming, and that's okay. A lot of us have a lot of free time nowadays, especially with the advent of technology. It makes it very simple to do stuff when it comes to research. You need to sit down and do your own research. You need to figure out what steps you need to take. I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a financial advisor. I just care a lot about money. I've done my own research, and I would wager that I know a thing or two about money. But I am no means a certified expert. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not qualified to give you recommendations on what you should or should not be doing. The biggest step in getting the younger generations to correct their financial mismanagement, their financial illiteracy, is to start taking personal accountability first and foremost. Look at yourself in the mirror. Decide if your recent purchases were smart. Decide if some of your bigger purchases were smart. And then go from there. Then start doing research on what you should and shouldn't be doing. But we can't do that until we understand what we did was wrong and admit to it, so we know we can't do it in the future. That's pretty much all I got, guys. Just please do your own research. Figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Don't buy into all this fucking financial guru bullshit you might see on your TikTok For You page. I promise you, just because it has 100,000 likes on the video does not mean what they're actually talking about is true or smart thing to listen to. I promise you that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, usually it isn't. Do your own research.